What if it's not your genes holding you back, but it was the environment that ruined your potential? What if Chads and Stacys are just what humans are supposed to look like? What if they are normal and everyone else isn't? Recently, I have been seeing a lot of data that shows just how important our environment is for health and how so many aspects of modern life have affected our health and, by extension, our attractiveness. Many people will chalk everything down to genetics, but ignore just how important the environment is. Your genes are not independent from your environment. What I mean by this is that your environment determines what genes are expressed. This is why phenotypes exist. The environment determines the genes, not the other way around. Animals adapt to their environment. This is the premise of evolution. It's why dinosaurs are not just walking around right now. It's why giraffes have long necks. The genes best suited to the environment pass on. But why is this important? Well, humans are the only species to dramatically affect their own environment, meaning we are actually not evolved for the modern world, and potentially many of the current epidemics is our bodies adapting to this new environment, essentially devolving. So how does this affect you? Well, first, it's important to understand that humans share 99.9% DNA, meaning that any difference is a gene expression as a result of environment. Common ones include phenotype, height, muscle type, etc. This means that everything else that's not environmental specific should be unaffected. For example, good bone structure, which is considered highly attractive because it is a natural indicator of health. Many will assume this too is just genetic, which is fair. But what if bad bone structure isn't, and it's actually the result of multiple generations of negative environmental factors? A study on cats showed the effect of a change to their natural diet. There were two groups: a control group who ate raw meat, their natural diet, and the test group that ate cooked meat. There were no other change to their environment. The only difference was meat being raw or cooked. Such a minor change couldn't possibly affect the cat's genes, right? Well, it didn't. The raw meat cat was slightly healthier. However, apart from that, there wasn't much difference. Until they had their offspring. The raw meat cat delivered healthy offspring, but the cooked meat cat's offspring were smaller. They had worse skull development. Their jaws were not as large, their fur not as pristine. This was repeated, and the next generation was even worse. The difference grew even more noticeable, and by the third generation, the cooked meat cats could no longer reproduce viable offspring. Now, this study was, of course, on cats. But I wonder what is the human equivalent. It may also be our removal from the natural lifestyle we are adapted to. And over the generations, these changes will grow more and more pronounced. Posture will continue to worsen. Jaws continue to atrophy. Pups continue to shrivel. Are we arrogant enough to believe that changing our entire ecosystem in an evolutionary blink won't affect us, when simply cooking meat did such damage to a cat? What if the reason your bone structure is bad is because of the worsening environment? Genes are adaptive. There is no benefit to having a recessed jaw and weak skull, leading me to presume it can only be unnatural. When have you ever seen a lion with a recessed chin? If it was solely random luck of genes, we would see tons of animals like this in the wild, but we never do. Only when introduced to human environments do animals decline. So as said before, yes, genes matter, but so does your environment. Mouth breathing is not natural. Crooked teeth are not natural. Yet these things affect so many people and ruin their attractiveness, and it's because of their environments. And in the long term, this is literally the difference between your offspring being like the raw meat cats or being like the cooked meat cats.